Yo, welcome to Perspective Valley. Thank you guys for traveling all the way back down to Perspective Valley. I'm Theo Mack.
Hey, I'm Dr. Nathaniel Granger Jr., aka Dr. Nate Relates, and this is Perspective Alley.
Dr. G is not with me, but he's on the other side. I don't mean other side like that, other side of the screen, as we're doing this thing from across the way.
I know Theo Mack may have a word or two. We're not together today on this cold, blistery, wintry day. And so, because we were going to do it out in the park.
Me and Dr. G thought we were going to be out celebrating Cinco de Mayo. We were going to have it set up, the podcast, and in the sun. And then the weather said, not so.
We were going to do it out in the park with everybody wearing the sombreros and we was going to do a podcast on just this. But we are now, I'm snowed in where I'm at. He's snowed in pretty much where he is.
It started raining out here. You guys can't see it, but it's supposed to be snowing later. And it's raining now. So here we are.
Man, I can't believe Spirit Airlines closed.
Spirit Airlines was shut down after 34 years.
More than 3-decade run ended over the weekend.
34 years of terrorizing people, 34 years of stressing people out.
And we know Spirit, it helped set the floor for cheap flights. It was cheaper than Frontier. It was the cheapest you could fly. And it pressured bigger companies or competitors to try to keep pace. And although Spirit shrank, as it struggled in the recent years, the airline actually was known for selling rock bottom tickets all the way into the end. They even had a $25 one-way flight from Atlanta to Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
I used to think Frontier was cheap flight, but it's not. After the baggage checked and all this other stuff, I mean, they'll run you that money, and they make bonuses off of catching people. I was told if they have a oversized bag and they try to bring it on the plane, they get like a bonus for grabbing people and making them pay because they're not supposed to bring the bag. They're like checking for it. People they look at. That's why if you go Frontier and they're like hyperactive on your bags and what size they are, it's because they're trying to make money. So Spirit Airlines shut down.
And since they've closed, other airlines have stepped up and have since pledged to help stranded Spirit customers by temporarily capping the fares. And some of the airlines have even rolled out discounts and on routes that Spirit once operated. And but we gotta be woke, as they say. You know, other airlines might lower their prices, might lower their fares, but we know that it's only temporary. Flights, tickets, prices with gas is all gonna go up. And so now, I don't know. I flew Spirit one time.
I think I've driven Spirit. I think I've flown Spirit once.
And I ain't gonna even lie, one time was too many.
If I'm not mistaken, I mean, it was cramped. It was just like not a good flight, but it was years ago, so I barely remember. I'm going off of stories that I hear, and the stories that I hear is not good. There's never a good Spirit Airlines story. It's never good.
I was trying to tap into my spirit side and trying to be right with God. So I figure, I'm gonna be all the way right. I'm gonna patronize Spirit Airline because that seemed like that would be the way to go. A flight that flies at a higher level, that operates on a higher level. But man, I ain't gonna even lie. That was the most ghetto. I compare Spirit to it's like the Greyhound bus of the skies. It was just, I said, after I flew Spirit one time, I said that I never fly it again.
However, never had a fatal crash, despite being the worst airline in America. They all manage to land safely. There has been 0 fatal crashes from Spirit Airlines.
And rumor has it that it's the only airline that has never had a fatal crash, which that's kind of hard to believe. You know, I guess they don't have to crash because people die while they on board. Ugh, man, that's Spirit Airlines.
These aren't real, but it makes me feel important. These are just for show, ladies and gentlemen. Today's Cinco de Mayo. Let's talk about it.
Fasten your seatbelt, or make sure your seat is in a full upright position. Tray table properly stored and seatbelt securely fastened, because today is not only is it Cinco de Mayo, today is Taco Tuesday. And that is just a whole lot of rumba, whatever, you know, it's a lot. And so I had already planned to, for today, I was gonna really do it like a little fiesta, get my little fiesta in. But then a snowstorm came through. We got winter weather like a mug up in Denver and Colorado Springs. It's so cold, you know.
Cinco de Mayo, as I wrote down here, because I didn't know.
A lot of times people celebrate holiday, they don't even know what Cinco de Mayo is, and we know it to be a popular holiday.
Well, I knew it was a celebratory thing, celebrating the independence of Mexico, but it's not Mexican Independence Day.
It is not Mexican Independence Day like some of us have been led to believe.
And it celebrates Mexico defeating France at the Battle of Puebla in 1862.
It does mark a victory. It is a victory that celebrates Mexican army's victory over France in the Battle of Puebla on May 5th, 1862.
How about that?
Mexicans, they won that battle. But even though they won the battle, the French eventually won the war. So it's interesting that Cinco de Mayo has become such a celebratory day, marking victory. You know, to win the battle and lose the war, I don't know if that's the way to go. In fact, I'd rather lose the battle. In fact, I've lost many battles, but I'm looking to win the war, and so yeah.
And obviously, it's much bigger in America than it is in Mexico. For some reason, people in America love to party. We love to do things real grandiose, real big, real extra, as an excuse to not work, an excuse to drink, an excuse to spend money or to have a good time, which I love having a good time. So I'm not mad about it. But most of my friends are Hispanic. And they tell me that, yeah, it's not really big in Mexico. Also, Mexico's situation is a little weird. They celebrate Christmas a day early, because Christmas Eve is the day they open presents. And they just have the whole thing backwards. I mean, it's not Sweet 16 over there, it's Sweet 15, and the 15 is celebrated by Quinceañera, if I'm saying that word right. So, continuing.
But nevertheless,
the moment we've all been waiting for, the Michael Jackson biopic.
We had a chance to go see the Michael Jackson movie the other night.
Me and Dr. G saw it. He's going to give his take on the other end. But before I get into my opinion about it, some facts for you.
And so I was looking at some of the things, and I was looking at a score, and it's like, man, they say the Michael Jackson movie Rotten Tomato score is a 25%. That's staggering. And what they're saying is that it's not really looking too good, you know.
MJ's biopic opened with $97 million the weekend, and that's a record for biopics.
You know, people criticize the movie, and some people criticized it because Janet was not a part of it, and she had reportedly been very upset, and she even called the film herself horrible and a disservice to Michael's legacy. Whoa! How could we even say that? I thought the movie was absolutely phenomenal.
It pulled $300 million worldwide. Okay, it's the only biopic I think is trailing by. It's a Queen biopic. Rhapsody, Bones. I don't know. Y'all know. Y'all gonna make fun of me for that. But the Queen biopic is the one that's trailing behind. But it's just still getting started. This next week we're gonna see how much more it's pulled in.
And so Spike Lee, he chimed in defending Michael amid all of the criticism about the film and what it does and does not include. And Spike Lee, he argued that the movie's timeline ends in 1988, saying that the critiques that's calling for the later allegations to be addressed overlook the structure of the story being told.
My opinion about that. I'm a big MJ fan. Anybody who knows me knows I love Michael Jackson. Though I don't know every song Michael Jackson has had, but I know most of them. I followed Michael Jackson as much as I could. He passed away when I was like 9 years old. So there's some discrepancy there. But I love me some Michael Jackson.
And I ain't gonna lie. I really enjoyed listening to the music and seeing the various concert scenes and seeing Michael Jackson's nephew portray him. It was absolutely fascinating, and he is an amazing dancer and a good singer. And I may question maybe his acting ability, but nevertheless, he was amazing.
Jafar did an amazing job. Jafar became Michael Jackson. He didn't always look like him in the scenes. There were scenes where he really looked like Michael Jackson, and there was scenes that he's like, who the hell is that? Like, that is not Michael Jackson. However, overall, if you just closed your eyes, you would thought you was listening to Michael Jackson. And his mannerisms, despite not looking like him in every single scene, was so on point. He became Michael Jackson that if nobody really followed Michael Jackson and looked at Michael Jackson's biopic, I feel like they would get a good look into who Michael Jackson was as a person, how he acted, how his family was.
And so the collision is really between two worlds. On one side is the cold numbers of the critics. And what do the critics know? Really, what do they really know about Michael Jackson? They didn't grow up in Gary, Indiana, or in Chicago, right next door to Gary, Indiana. They didn't grow up when Michael Jackson. They didn't know Michael Jackson when Michael Jackson's nose was wide. They didn't know him when he was dark skinned. They didn't know Michael Jackson, but they want to critique this movie. But then on the other hand, you got the real emotions of millions of people like myself for Michael Jackson. And so another score said that the Michael film received a 38% critic score. A number that in film industry that almost signals failure. A dead end before anything even begins. And yet, understand this, even though it scored 38%, in a single weekend, the world walked into theaters and left behind $217 million. That's about 14.5 million people who stood up, left their homes, bought tickets, and decided they wanted to feel this story in their homes.
And of course, you can't put somebody's whole life into a 2-hour movie, let alone arguably the most famous person on the planet besides Jesus. You can't put his whole life into 2 hours. So they did a great job. Despite that, they did an amazing job. I give it a 9 out of 10 based off of this what I said. Can't please everybody, But yeah, y'all should just go watch it. Just to say that you guys watched it, it is worth to see at least one time. So that's my take on the MJ biopic.
So when I saw the movie, I don't care what the acting was like, and I don't care what the allegations later on may have happened in Michael's life or any of the bad thing, because I know people always want to air out dirty laundry. But that movie made me feel good. It took me back to a time. It felt like Michael Jackson was right there eating dinner with me. You know, because I grew up with Michael Jackson. We grew up together. He was like one of my first friends, and I was a friend to one of his first friends, which was Ben the Rat. A lot of y'all don't know about Ben the Rat. Ben was like Michael's first, before the monkey. It was Ben. It was Ben. And that was like Michael's number one friend. So I love Michael Jackson and I love Ben. In fact, I told my mom, I wanted to get a rat.
And imagine if Michael Jackson was around right now and he had all access to the streaming services. Imagine his career started like this. He would be he would be so much more. Jesus would have to come back. Jesus would have to break the sky open. The sky would have to snap in half to stop that man, because it would have been crazy. The numbers that he's doing while he's not here, the numbers that he did when he was alive in an era where he didn't have all the access to that streaming services and things like that, is just mind blowing. If you go fact check it, it's just, he would have been the Antichrist. That people would compare him to the Antichrist.
So that's when you really begin to understand what the critics actually missed. They walked into the theater to evaluate a film. The audience walked into the theater to relive a part of their own lives, and so 38% is a score, but 217 million. That and still climbing. That's the real answer. And so a shout out to Michael. And I want to say this too. Yeah, there's always some bad, but accentuate the good, accentuate the positive. And for this man who has touched so many millions and millions and millions of lives, maybe billions, I think it's probably billions now that I think about it. Let's respect him, and certainly, honor his legacy. But at all costs, let the man rest in peace.
We want to thank everybody for traveling all the way back down to Perspective Valley. I've been Theo Mack.
I'm Dr. Nathaniel Granger Jr., a.k.a. Dr. Nate Relates. And that's my spiel on Perspective Alley.
And want to wish you nice Cinco de Mayo. Drink some tequila for your Hispanic hombres and hombras. I'm probably using that word wrong. Your friends, your hermanas and your hermanos, and your niños and your niñas, and your abuelas and abuelos. And I'm about to get jumped after this call, after this podcast shoot. So if you don't see me, it's because a whole bunch of Mexicans got together and dragged me out of my apartment. All right, much love to y'all. Till next time.